episode of Cosmic Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Martenson, and I'm here with Herbal Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hello, Marla.
I'm
Hello,
so
everyone.
excited to have Tom here. I interviewed him, maybe a couple of years ago, and I was in a class with Tom and Grace Kavanaugh. It was a
Yeah.
spiritual development class, and Tom did his portion of it, which was nutrition and breath work and qigong and all that. And I have to say, he is one of the most knowledgeable people I've ever met. And I know you've been studying this stuff since you were a kid because it was so interesting, right?
Right, exactly. I started foraging in elementary, and after reading a book about a kid who lived off the land in the Catskills Mountains of New York, and my parents caught on and bought me field guides, and that started my insatiable thirst for knowledge. Got into the prescription guide to nutritional healing in middle school, and then by high school, freshman year, I got a book on herb magic, opened up a whole new realm, and by sophomore year, my hippie grandpa nicknamed me Herbal Tom.
Oh, that is so cute. Well, today we're going to be talking about something which I keep going back and forth with, and I can't, it's like, you know how we find out nowadays, okay, you really can't eat wheat because it's GMO and the gluten, and you really can't eat fish because of all the mercury, and you really can't eat corn because of the GMO. And guess what? Now I say I can't even have a gosh darn cup of coffee because Tom enlightened me in that workshop about why coffee's not so great, even though it has those antioxidants, and they say, you know, it might prevent Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or good for the digestive thing or whatever. There's something that they do the way they make it, right? So I'll let you take it away on why maybe we shouldn't be drinking coffee or too much of it. So go ahead and give us the news.
Sure.
And what we can have instead.
Yes, so there's great alternatives to it, and to lay a little bit of the foundation, I'm a firm believer of quality over quantity. You know, the challenge with coffee that comes is it's so popular worldwide, and there are not necessarily the best quality practices. Coffee, because of the beans, they're harvested. They have a pericarp, an actual fruit on the outside of these beans. Often they're laid out into the sun to dry, and that can create mold if they're not processed properly. And that mold creates an aflatoxin. The aflatoxin is like a potent liver carcinogen, and that's one of the things that causes kind of that crash and stress on the body. This is why the whole bulletproof movement is out there and promoting their aflatoxin-free coffee and that sort of thing. So there are better alternatives too for even quality coffee. Now, I'm a fan of coffee, but I like it more than my body does. And so, like, I'll have a cup on occasion, but I really notice how it depletes me and kind of brings me down. So I find much healthier alternatives. For example, some of the issues with coffee basically are it depletes the adrenals. So one of the reasons that coffee is so taxing on our system is it spikes the adrenals and then we crash. And once we're out of adrenaline is like the savings account for the body. It's what we need for, you know, if we get chased by a bear. It's what gives us that superhuman power to be able to get away from the bear and to safety. So what happens in our society when we don't have these issues, but it's necessarily like a bear, but you know, we have the freeways, we have our own little micro stresses and things like this going on that aren't necessarily as big as a bear, but if we keep milking our adrenals for that superhuman power feeling, then we get really depleted. And once we deplete the adrenaline, we're running on cortisol. Cortisol is the stress hormone that causes blood sugar imbalance. It causes us to be edgy and testy. It
also puts on fat around for women around the midsection, right? Because we have that belly. I'm trying to get rid of some around there, and I heard that cortisol the coffee can keep you kind of.
That's correct. Yeah. So that's one of the things with that too is that the coffee it is in Chinese medicine they say it's like Jing depleting. So the Jing is your genetic essence. It's the adrenals, the hormone, the bodily fluids, the blood, these sorts of things that can get depleted. So coffee is oxidative because it's now, and this is what's interesting too. There's some camps are coming out and saying coffee is a great antioxidant. Yeah. Now there's tremendous amount of antioxidants within the berry of the coffee when it's raw and in its natural sense. And when it gets roasted, it's literally burnt, and so it's oxidizing in that process. Now, I'd really love to see the difference in these studies, whether they're testing the antioxidant amounts in a coffee before or after roasting.
Good point.
Are they referring to the berry? Because the berry, the pericarp is actually loaded with antioxidants, and in its natural state like that is going to be great. I've even seen the coffee berry powder at like Sprouts and health food stores now that people can add to their smoothies and shakes. Mm-hmm. So that would be an excellent way to go about it. So the other challenges is it can be rough on the kidneys and the liver. They do use coffee enemas, for example, for certain detoxification protocols. But the bottom line when it comes to coffee is just really moderation, quality over quantity. When you're doing coffee every morning, first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, coffee is very acidic. The American pastime of coffee first thing in the belly, it basically is those acids from the coffee, brewed coffee especially, is more acidic. This can basically acidify the blood. And first thing in the morning, we're already kind of acidic from our body's detoxification process over the evening while we sleep. So it's important to alkalize first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. And whereas one of the better times to do coffee is actually after a meal, like Italians do. They do that espresso after the meal because the acids from the coffee actually support digestion at that point.
Right.
And they can kind of mitigate that afternoon lull, But again, those that are, getting first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, drinking that coffee, maybe having a few, I know some people do like 6 cups a day.
Yeah, some people do. Yeah.
And then what happens is your body spikes the adrenal, you're out of adrenaline, you're running on cortisol, the stress hormone, you're a little edgy through the day, you're feeling the tension, and then what happens at night? You can't sleep, the mind's still going, because you're edgy from the cortisol, and what do you do the next morning? First thing in the morning, have another cup of coffee.
So first thing you should sort of alkalize, maybe warm water with lemon would be great, yes, right? Alkalizing exactly. That way.
That's something I recommend to all my friends and family, anyone who comes near me. The number one key to health, I say, for anybody, everyone can benefit from this, is a tall glass, a pint, like 16 ounces at least, of warm water, ideally closer to body temperature so the body can utilize it. With a pinch of sea salt or lemon or apple cider vinegar, something alkalizing, and with the electrolytes that helps to hydrate the body, and this helps to also flush the kidneys and the colon and remove those toxins from our body's cleansing process while we sleep.
So you made a good point about the kidneys, because I didn't think about this. Now, I do have a couple cups of coffee in the morning. I really love that. I get organic. I don't know if it's real, whatever. But I have lately my kidneys. So if I would have a couple sips of wine, for example, even a kombucha, my lower back starts to hurt. Mm-hmm. I mean, not even a full glass, and that must be the kidneys. Wouldn't that be?
Yeah. Usually, lower back pain is coming from the kidneys. The kidneys and even the adrenals. This is one thing too, because I've actually gone through phases a couple times of like adrenal fatigue, where I literally was getting aches in my kidneys and the adrenals because I was so taxed. Mm-hmm. And part of that, is like lack of sleep, too much caffeine, too much stress. All of these things can deplete our Jing, which is associated with the kidneys and the adrenals. And so it was at that point I switched over to doing something more replenishing to the body and really important. So I'm a huge fan of tonic herbs. So tonic herbs can help to offset some of the negative effects of the coffee, like reishi. There's a whole, this is reishi mushroom.
Yeah.
So there's a whole multi-level company out there selling reishi coffee.
Okay.
And this is because reishi is antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and a tonic for the kidneys, liver, and adrenals. So it actually...
So you would say that reishi coffee, that would be okay. You alkalize yourself in the morning, and then after you eat, have some of the reishi coffee if you enjoy it. Is that company I buy the little packets at Whole Foods?
There's one that does that too. Yeah,
Sigma, Four Sigma.
Four Sigmatic. Yeah,
Sigmatic?
Those guys are excellent. Yeah.
Okay.
So they're doing like the reishi coffee. They have the reishi packets you can get by themselves. Toss that into your coffee.
Or that's
reishi,
just a coffee by itself. You can add water or some almond milk or something.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So for example, you can buy the reishi separately. For example,
oh yes, okay.
I have a fantastic company that I'm a huge fan of on my website on herbaltom.com. On the resource page, the company is called Jing Herbs, and they're based here in Los Angeles. They do excellent, high quality tonic herbs from the Chinese medicine, and they do the reishi in either tincture, capsules, or powder that you can mix into shakes and smoothies and stuff like that. So that's how I do my reishi every day. Now, I don't always do coffee. One of my go-tos these days is as like the best coffee alternative. Doesn't have the coffee flavor for those that are really like that roasty, burnt kind of like warming kind of experience. But
I know, there's nothing like it. But what are you doing instead? Matcha. Okay, matcha.
So matcha is green tea. It's a green tea powder. And the matcha is actually antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. It helps to balance cortisol because of the L-theanine that also helps to calm and focus the mind. So coffee is like, it gives you a lot of charge, but it doesn't necessarily give you the focus. So how do you balance that, right? I like the matcha because it gives me that focus and that energy. Matcha itself, depending on how strong you make it, has about half the caffeine of coffee, but gives you about 5 to 6 hours of clean energy without the crash. And for example, one thing you can do to with the matcha actually is mix it with cacao. So like raw cocoa gives you
love that. Yeah.
Kind of matcha experience. Right. So then it doesn't taste as green. Because,
yeah, because it does. You do have to get used to that taste a little sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a kind of like acclimation to the new flavor. Even Starbucks and lots of coffee shops are hopping onto the matcha latte thing these days.
But would you say that's not as good quality, I'll bet, because you said the quality is really the...
Quality is the key. So and this is the thing, and there's a huge range of what they call matcha out there. And essentially, to be real, true matcha, it is from Japan. It is harvested in the first few weeks. So this Got Matcha is my favorite brand because they do just that. It's an organic, ceremonial grade that is harvested in the first few weeks. And you can really see the color difference, and it's got a fresh green chlorophyll smell and flavor to it. Very alkalizing to the body. Great for basically getting that get up and go. Now, for some that haven't had matcha before, you may want to have it with a little food in your stomach because it is so alkalizing that it can cause a little like discomfort. Like for some folks, coffee on an empty stomach makes them too acidic. In this case, the matcha can make you more alkaline than you're used to initially. And so you can mix it with a little bit of like almond milk. You make it into a latte or something like that, and that will offset those issues. Or just simply have it after a meal because the green tea also supports digestion as well. So essentially, you can find out more information about the matcha on my website. I actually have done a couple videos with the matcha and how to use them into a luscious elixir and tonic.
Yeah, you did a Facebook Live the other day. Love that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've been having really a lot of fun with the Facebook Live. I've been doing them for the past few weeks on Tuesdays, called Tonic Tuesday.
Oh,
and
great.
So share the tonic of the day. So I'll be keeping that going.
Connect with them. So you had something else there that was pretty cool that you were going to show us.
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to share is for those that really like that coffee esque flavor of that roastiness. I've been really digging this Maca lately. This stuff's really fun. It is basically, it's a roasted maca that gives you that kind of roasty flavor. And the cool thing that happens with maca, when you roast it, it actually makes it more activated and energizing. So for those that aren't familiar with maca, maca itself is a root from Peru, a tuber actually in the radish family, and typically grows over 10,000 foot elevation in the Andes Mountains. And it has been a food source for many of the tribes and native peoples there, from the Incas even to modern day. And it's really tremendous as an endocrine tonic. So in Chinese medicine, they call that a Jing tonic, but also great for the qi, so the life force energy. So hence, in this case, it gives you that energy, but actually without caffeine, which is really neat about this. So today I'm drinking a mocha maca latte.
Wow.
And that's with some tonic
I
herb.
put maca in my smoothies, and it's good for women's hormones, isn't it?
That's right. So as the endocrine system is the hormonal system, men and women are fueled by our hormones. You know, people tend to think it's only women that are hormonal, but you know, when men get the rise in the morning, and men have their other drives, those are the hormones working on their body too. So we all have them, we all need them, we need to all balance our hormones, because that's what's going to really help us to have that solid energy, solid vitality, feeling good about ourselves and in our body. And so this macchiato is a really nice way to do it as well.
Okay, good. So thank you so much for clarifying that. And, you know, well, we can still have your coffee, but make sure it's super good quality, organic, and then try some of these other options and alkalize in the morning.
Yeah. Another quick note, too, is cold brew coffee. Since it's not actually brewed in hot water, the hot water is what pulls the acids out even more. So when you do cold brew, then it is much less acidic on the body, and so it makes it much easier. And so it's getting real popular these days, too, and it's pretty easy to make at home. I'm actually planning on doing a how to make your easiest cold brew video coming up on my Facebook Live coming soon.
All right. I'm looking forward to that. Okay. Thanks for stopping by, Tom.
Cheers.
Bye, everybody.